Hey, what's up, guys? It's your boy Juice from Get Home Safe, and I've been away from the channel for quite some time. So, let me explain. Between a termite situation, trying to figure out whether we were going to stay in our apartment or not, and just getting life together, everything came at me fast. So, right now, I think we're at basically end of May going into June, and I had a moment this weekend. It's been like a really long 3 days, and it's been like 3 days of losses. And you know how they say things come to you in threes. You'll have like three blessings, three curses, three deaths, three gifts, or just moments that when one thing happened, it feels like all the building blocks start falling into place, whether that be good or bad. And that's where I currently am in life. So I figured I wanted to share that. And when I say losses, not every loss that I'm speaking about is my personal loss. Sometimes it's a loss one of my friends has gone through and they reached out to me about it. And I'm like, well, how can I help this person or give them great advice? Or maybe it's a loss that I'm in the middle of and I'm figuring out where's my place in this picture, and should I have feelings towards what's going on around me? And if I don't have feelings, why am I missing that component of emotion or sadness or extreme sadness and loss? So for the first loss, I had to write everything down because I just thought about this and I was like, I've had a lot of folks who I've spoken to about things I've been going on for the last couple of months, and they're like, "Hey, you should come on camera and talk about that, and give folks some tidbits about either how you're dealing with that experience or how other people are dealing with that experience, and what were the moments or keywords of wisdom or perspective that was shared with you that really changed the trajectory of everything that's going on within these moments that I'm gonna share." So for the first loss, one of my folks hit me up. One of my friends from high school, childhood friend, one of my best friends, and he was in a car accident. And when he hit me up about his car accident, the first thing I did, because I was at work, I was like, do I have to come off work? Am I gonna have to call out? Am I gonna have to like hit folks up and let them know, hey, I'm not gonna be able to complete the day? A family emergency came up, and I was like, is everybody okay? He said, yeah, everyone's okay. I said, all right, well, were you hurt anywhere? He said, physically, I'm okay. But, and we hit that pause. I was like, all right, but what's going on? He's like, emotionally, I'm not. All right. So, when someone says that, you kind of got to ask the right questions. Did anybody get hurt? Did anybody get hit? What happened within the situation? And I know he's like one of those folks who practice self-driving, and he told me like, emotionally I'm shaken up. And I think this is one of the first times that I could remember in our friendship that this particular friend had picked up the phone and said, let me call Juice to just share what's going on. And I had one of those moments because I've been there for a lot of folks. When it comes to the work that we do at Get Home Safe, it's a lot of advice. It's a lot of, well, this is a real perspective. It's a lot of, I've been here before. There are other people who've been here before, or people are sharing things with me to see, can it help the next person who may be in this situation? But for my friend to take our friendship of, I'd say, what's that, 2003 to present, of like, hey, let me let him know what happened to me today. I said, I bet. Why are you emotionally shaken? And he told me like, if I lose the car, there's a lot of job opportunities that's connected to the car. So he had a fear of what would happen if I'm no longer able to get around and take care of what I need to do with someone who has all these degrees and all these opportunities. What would I be able to do with someone that has written a couple of books and has to go to book signings and sit down? And like, that is one of my sources of income that really covers a lot of things. And in that moment, as his friend, I had to help him acknowledge what does belong to him, in terms of, hey, you're a safe driver. I know how you are and who you are. We've traveled back and forth, tri-state, a couple other places. I know who you are when you're angry. I know who you are when you're not as happy as you would like to be. but I know that you care and you've been doing a great job when it comes to driving and being behind the wheel. And I told him, I was like, all you can control is what you can control, which is how you drive, and you're doing your best. When it comes to getting into accidents, or when it comes to life not falling into place like you'd like for it to, you can't really help that. Those things are going to happen. But you do have to also acknowledge what doesn't belong to you. You got into a car accident with someone else. They hit your car. You can't control that. Financially speaking, I mean, you could set yourself up and save as much coin as you'd like, but what you shouldn't allow yourself to do is to bring what happened to you today into tomorrow. And the reason I say that is, if you're someone who's like already safety first, taking my time, I have all these opportunities, chances are you're probably already pretty hard and very stern with yourself. And with that kind of thinking and everything else that's built around it, I said, you're going to have to just not relax on your morals, but relax on being too hard on yourself when you're already trying your best. The reason trying your best is so important is because when mistakes happen in life, some folks have the habit of, what could I have done? Instead of acknowledging, maybe I already did do my best, and maybe that is the top of my capacity when it came to that particular thing. And maybe I should allow myself to move on to the next day and not let this haunt me, whether it be like a business decision, whether it be like maybe I should move in with this person, whether it be let me take the next step in my career or where I see myself going because of one mistake. And I wouldn't want to let this friend in particular, let this one thing, this accident that happened to them, even though they were being responsible, haunt the rest of the decisions that they're going to make. So in terms of the first loss, this first loss came by, this was their first moment of insecurity with something that has helped them accomplish so much in this car. But with each blessing you have, there's a personal responsibility that you have to protect that blessing. And remember, these things are tools. It's our jobs to use tools as best as we can. But like, if the tool's not a right fit or the situation's not a right fit, these things are going to happen. When you get a car, accidents are going to happen. When you get a sandwich, you may get an upset stomach. When you get your favorite ticket to like one of a singer's or performances, you may not get the best performance, but you were in that performance. You were a part of the performance. You were part of the crowd that was enjoying everything that's going on. And as a friend, I have a personal responsibility to remind them of who they are and who they're trying to be, and that these things are going to happen to you. So you'd better off figuring out what you can accept and what's the capacity of what you should be able to accept, and just don't be too hard on yourself as someone that's already trying hard enough as is. So that's the first lesson in the first loss of today, the loss of insecurity. And I mean, a lot of us go through that. For example, what's an insecure moment I may have had? Oh, did tryouts for the NFL from 2012 until about the middle of 2017. So, when it comes to pro tryouts, especially in football, you are being compared to every other person that's in the room. I got a stressed Achilles from 2009. My junior year, had a torn meniscus in my left leg, but within those breakout years of my junior and senior year, even though my senior year was cut short, I always had to be very secure in who I was. And if I wasn't the thing that I needed to be, it wasn't about what I'm not right now. It was about, well, do I have the capacity to build around that? And do I have the capacity to hire my probability? So whether it comes to the car accident that my friend went through, or the stressed Achilles and a couple other injuries that I had to train with as I became stronger, faster, and better, sometimes accepting those insecurities for what they are and building around that is just as important as keeping in mind what you have going on and being aware of it. Awareness shouldn't be a ball and chain. Awareness should be a fence. And when it comes to a fence, you have to have a great foundation. That's what awareness is about. And that was the kind of awareness I happened to be working with at that time. All right, so let's move on to the second loss that I had experienced within these last 3 days. Yesterday, I found out that a friend of mine had passed away. This young man passed away on a highway on the outskirts of DC, and I found out that they had passed away and the funeral had happened a month ago. Now, when I received this news from another friend who just happened to come and visit me at my job, I that was a lot, because you meet a lot of people in the work that I do outside of Get Home Safe. There's a lot of folks in the restaurant industry, there's a lot of folks in the cloud architecture industry, and there's a lot of folks in the mental health industry. So when you know these names and these faces, and you've done work with people for 10 years, 15 years, you've been in the same rooms as folks for 20 years, it's very painful when you don't you lose them. Loss is always painful. That's never not painful. That's guaranteed. It's like Captain Obvious, but no, you have to say it. But when you miss the opportunity to properly say goodbye to someone, I think that's a moment that a lot of us struggle with. When you find out about the funeral, that was a month ago. When you find out the condition in which the funeral happened and what happened to the friend that you may have lost a month ago. And you don't get you lose out on the moment to collectively be sad with other people who feel for this person in the moment that it happens. And when it comes to your emotions and what you're feeling and what you're going through, you sometimes question, hey, do I have the right to be sad because I've missed my moment of sadness? Do I get to feel what I need to feel? And who do I go to talk to? Most folks say, hey, go to a therapist. I mean, yes, there's going to a therapist. There is that. But on average, if you see a therapist, if you're lucky, you may be able to see a therapist twice a month. That means you have, on average, a month is like 30 days. So you have 28 other days that you are with yourself trying to figure out, what does it look like for me to deal with this morning? Do I have a right to mourn this person's death? Do I have a right to be sad? Do I have a right to miss them? Everyone has their rights to say goodbye, but what does it look like to properly say goodbye to someone who's passed away, especially suddenly, especially in that fashion? And are they still a part of my story if they're no longer among the living? Am I a part of their story if I'm not among the land of the dead and gone? So when you lose your opportunity to say goodbye, I really ask folks, well, what are your 3 fond memories of this person? Whether it be friend, associate, or someone that you wish you could add more time with. And when they were here, did you try the best you could to foster a great relationship with them? Were you invested in the time that you guys had? Were you too busy? There's nothing wrong if you were too busy, because everyone has priorities. But in finding out what your best looks like and finding out what that relationship may have looked like compared to what you feel it is and what it actually was, that may be very telling. I'm not telling folks you can't allow yourself to be sad because you weren't as involved in that person's life as you should have been. No, it's never that. What it comes down to is, as someone that appreciated this person and as someone that wanted to be, who misses the person that they have lost, what memories do you have that either keep you warm at night? What memories do you have that you're glad you were able to be a part of? And can you build off of those memories? Because once people are gone, I'll forever be the last person to tell folks you shouldn't miss someone. I'll be the last person to tell folks, oh, the pain, you'll get over that, it'll get better soon. No, not all pain and loss ends up with folks getting better soon, but with the time that you do have still, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to reach out to the folks who made it to the funeral? Are you going to reach out to the friends who are still your friends, and you may have an opportunity to sit down and catch up with them and pour into this life that is still here and the people are still here? Do you still have connections to things that matter to you that do have a place in your life and where that place may help you get one day? And if you don't sometimes when it comes to saying goodbye, it's like feeling a draft in a house and trying to figure out where's that wind coming from and discovering the window that's there, the door that was open, and closing it. But once you close it, you realize there was an opportunity I could have had that I no longer have access to. You came across it when it was too late. So, in a lot of these moments, that's when you need friends. That's when you need family. That's when you need more than just yourself. And you also need to allow yourself to feel emotions. When I received that news, unfortunately, I was at work. I was busy, booked, busy, running around. And what I found within that moment was I had to really question, like, hey, I know you're saddened by the news, but you're not allowing yourself to be sad. And I had to question, like, hey, man, am I making time to make time for me? Because if you're not making time to make time for yourself, who else are you going to make time for? Oh, this job needs you. Yes. Oh, my family needs you. Yes. Oh, my friends need me. Yes. But if you're not making time to feel the right things, if you're not making time to be aware of where you may be at a moment when something happens, and if you're not making time to understand that something has shifted within you and there's something that's different, chances are when that opportunity comes around again for you to make time, you may find excuses to not make time for those right things. When it comes to mourning, and especially when it comes to numbness, like, there's a lot of pain that comes with this thing called life. It's a lot of disappointment, there's a lot of joy, there's some sorrow and disappointment, but life still at the end of the day is whatever we make it. So when you come into a state of mourning, or for some folks, a state of numbness, this is a perpetual state that we're moving through. Just like happiness is a verb, being numb is also a verb. It's the action of I don't want to feel something, so I'm trying to feel things. I'm trying to fill the hole with things until it's filled, and then if I get enough things in there, I'll be fine because there's things that there, but those things aren't the quality of what we actually need within this life right now, what we're dealing with. So as you move in and out of your sadness, as you move in and out of these numb moments, as you move in and out of a space that you think is there to protect you or to do right by you, make space for who you need to be. Sometimes you may have to imagine, what would the ideal version of myself look like? And what would the ideal version of myself say to themselves? Like, a lot of folks aren't going to say this, but you do got to make time to cry. Sometimes it's leaving work early. Sometimes it's being in the bubble bath. Sometimes it's over your favorite beer, watching a movie, and there's just a scene that you may see in like the movie Crash or like a Marvel movie like the Avengers Endgame, and you feel a tear coming down your face, and you have all these other memories, and like, you don't have to pause the movie and interrupt everybody else, but those moments, those chords that are touched within the movies and the entertainment and the other things that we watch, these chords are real for us. And what they do is they frame either what we've gone through, or they frame how we may feel in that moment that we didn't allow ourselves to feel. That's why when you come across those moments, treasure it, because you're still able to feel something. Life's a scary place when you don't feel anything. So let's move on to part three. All right. So number one was loss of security. Was one. So number one was loss of security. Number two was loss of my moment to say goodbye. And number three, which is kind of dark now I think about it, it's just loss of a family friend. Tonight, because I've had a 3-day weekend of loss and I've received the news in threes. I lost my my best friend's grandmother passed away a couple of days ago. So busy and unplugged from everything because I've been staying off social media unless necessary for like content and everything else. Yeah, I just found out today. We're going into Monday. It happened like Thursday night going into Friday. And he recently just lost his mom a couple of months ago. Obviously, I'm going to be taking a trip to New Jersey for the funeral, but man, something something internally just switches on and off when it comes to people that are part of your core memories growing up. So my guy whose grandmother passed away, we ended up going to college together, right? And the reason that's important is because we played high school football together at the same high school, but I had no clue he was coming to the same college as me until like 2 weeks before we had to go to football camp. And when his grandmother met me for the first time, her first words were, I kid you not, she looked dead at me and whispered in his ear, "That's a big motherfucker." And from that day forward, anytime I saw her, all I could do was just give her a big hug. And I mean, I saw her at the high school games and everything else, but it's different when you guys are at college together, and that's like really all you have in terms of like hometowns and folks that you're cool with. It's different when you're in college and things are a little bit harder and you're trying to figure out who you're gonna be. It's different when you know you're a person of color at a college that's predominantly white, and these are one of the folks you may hop on a phone with just to give you advice or like tell you keep your head up, or that's to remind you, hey man, you know what you're there for. So when I found out we lost her today, first thing I could think of is like, what's my friend going through? And because I was at work, I was like, look, I'm not gonna pick up the phone to call my fam that has just lost someone in the moment right now because I'm hurt. I'm gonna have to shelf that and deal with that on the phone with him the next day when I'm no longer at work. But I do have to make space for myself. So I left work early. As I said before, in the second loss we were talking about, when I lost my moment to say goodbye to a friend who had passed away earlier in the month, 30 days ago, I need to make space for myself. And if I don't make space for myself, who else is going to make space for me? Like, just sitting on the clock and all these folks are talking to you and you're having these great interactions, but you could feel the tears welling up from the sadness. And, within this loss, it's one of the things that reminds me you do have to take your own advice as a content creator, even when it comes to like you making mental health content. And most of the content that we make directly correlates with folks who deal with the 4 different categories of content that you can find on this page. But your daily life directly correlates to everything that's going on. If you're not taking care of yourself directly, or you're not making time for yourself directly, or you're not sitting yourself in a corner and sitting with yourself and letting yourself feel whatever you're going to have to feel whenever it comes through for you, there's not much you're going to be able to do for yourself in the moment when those moments come. And within these 3 losses that we've experienced over these last 3 days, I'm gonna have an opportunity to say goodbye to her correctly. She's done so much for my friend. She's done so much for me and my family. And let my mom know, what can we do for this family in their time of need? Because my friend has lost both his mother and his grandmother within 9 months of each other. What can we as a community do to come around him and not only just take care of the funeral, but after everything is said and done, who are we going to allow ourselves to be for the people next to us? When it comes to a lot of the work that we do and a lot of work that I've done with so many folks, it's never lost on me that as much as we're proud of the work that we do and the things that we've accomplished, whether it be folks getting into therapy or people getting their correct help, None of this works matter if you don't actually sit down and take care of your community. Your community is the reason that all of this happens. And I'm not saying this as a person who's not in pain. I'm in pain daily. It's just this is a different kind of pain. This is a very unexpected pain. This is the reality of the life that we're living. And within this news of threes, I had become aware that I've been so engrossed and soaked so deeply in pain that, like, I've become used to the pain that I've been served up from a lot of people's experiences that have told me about what they've gone through, whether it comes to depression, anxiety, ADHD, or suicidal ideations. I've become accustomed to death because death is a part of life. I've been accustomed to losing people, but you can't lose yourself in this process of helping others. You can't lose who you need to allow yourself to be when your friends reach out to you. You can't lose you can't lose yourself to who you want to become because you didn't get an opportunity to say goodbye to a friend, to someone who's cracked jokes with you, been there for you, and always brought a smile to your face within the small pockets of time they got to be a part of your life and you got to be a part of theirs. And you can't lose to the sadness that you're experiencing when you've lost a loved one who means so much to you, and you can't lose to the feelings that you have for your friend who's currently in pain. Happiness and sadness are a part of you, and when it comes to mourning and regret and disappointment, those are all a part of who you are as a person. I'm not here to tell everyone just accept it. If you accept it, it'll feel better. No. But take time in acknowledging what you're going through, because what you're going through is a reflection of what you've gained and what you've lost. And both those things help you become who you are and who you may need to be. It's not going to be an easy road. Hopefully you have the right people around you. I've been blessed to have the right people around me and have people who are very understanding of who I may need to be for certain days, but don't don't lose yourself striving for more. If possible, be sure to bring all of who you need to be into your future. Whether it's bright or not, that depends on you. That's a perspective thing. So, hopefully these three losses I've gone through within these last 3 days, whether it's news that had to do about the past, present, or the future that's coming, has been helpful to everybody. And I look forward to seeing you guys next time on this channel. So Juice Jones Creates. And good luck this week. Peace.